This is Almost Timely News for the week of February 13th, 2022. Happy Super Bowl Sunday for those watching that. Happy Valentine's Day for those observing that holiday. This week, what's on my mind? Well, this past week, we saw in the news that Google Analytics, in its current form, was ruled non-compliant by GDPR again. According to the International Association of Privacy Professionals, go ahead and read this excerpt here. Just weeks after the Austrian Data Protection Authority's ruling that Google Analytics use violates the EU General Data Protection Regulation, or GDPR, France's Data Protection Authority, the Commission nationale de l'informatique et des libertés, has reached a similar decision. In its decision, the CNIL said that data collection and transfers to the United States using Google Analytics are illegal, violating Article 44 of the GDPR. The CNIL ordered an unidentified French website manager to bring its processing into compliance with GDPR within 1 month and stop using the service under current conditions if necessary. The CNIL said transfers to the United States are currently not sufficiently regulated, and the absence of an EU-US adequacy decision presents a risk for French website users who use the service and whose data is exported. The authority notes the additional measures taken by Google to regulate Google Analytics data transfers are not sufficient to exclude the accessibility of this data for U.S. intelligence services. The CNIL said its investigation also extends to other tools used by sites that result in the transfer of data of European Internet users to the United States, adding corrective measures in this respect may be adopted in the near future. Well, what does this mean for us? What this means for us as marketers, given that increased privacy laws came into effect this year, such as California's CPRA, which enforcement mechanisms take effect January 1st of next year, 2023, but the scope of data being regulated began this January 1st, 2022. In short, there's a few different takeaways here. The key paragraph from this story from IAPP is the final part of that excerpt above, where they said also extends to other tools, right? It's not just Google Analytics that's in question here. It's every piece of MarTech that we use that transfers data across borders. If it's in the cloud, it's potentially a problem, right? If you use HubSpot, Salesforce, Google Analytics, Adobe Analytics, you name it, if the data is crossing borders, it's likely at some point to run afoul of GDPR. So, what should we be doing? Well, first, companies need to be thinking about first-party analytics solutions. First-party analytics solutions are software packages that you host yourself on your own servers within your own IT infrastructure that collect data and does not transfer that data to any other entity, not even Google, right? Open source solutions like Matomo fit the bill, as they are entirely self-hosted. They are capable of meeting the strictest privacy requirements if you configure them correctly, including highly regulated industries. Remember, though, the key to compliance here is that you must host and maintain these servers in your own IT architecture so that the data you collect never leaves your possession. No third parties. Okay? In the longer term, we marketers, we must make the pivot away from collecting personal information and focusing on behavioral information. This is something I've been saying since 2017, right? When we all saw the final form that GDPR was going to take. Do we need to know somebody's age or gender, or sexual orientation, ethnicity, religion? Do we need to know their Spotify favorites or their sexual orientation or their last movie they watched on Netflix? No, we don't need any of that information. What we need to know are the behavioral buying signals to look for. For example, if you go to trustinsights.ai, right, my company's website, and someone visits our services page, our about page, our team page, our bios page, and then engages with our chatbot, chances are that's a buying signal, right? Just the behaviors they have on site, that's a buying signal, right? And if somebody visits your product pages, your about page, engages with your chatbot, that could be a behavioral signal that says that that person, whoever they are, has buying intent. And that in turn should trigger marketing technology to engage with them further. Now, here's the real secret, the real key to making all this stuff work. The one thing that makes all privacy legislation and all privacy laws moot is affirmative consent. If a consumer knowingly and willingly gives us their information and consent to use it for marketing purposes, no law can touch us, right? As long as we obviously have a paper trail that will stand up in a court of law. So how do we get this magical, mysterious affirmative consent? Same way you earn any consent, by providing much more value than you take, so much that the consumer, and remember this is B2B or B2C, is eager and happy to give you their information. They want to hear from you. They look forward to your emails. They have conversations with you on social media. Right? Pivoting to a marketing strategy which involves actually making customers happy is going to be more costly in the short term, but it will return multiples on your return on investment in the long term. You'll have very few issues with privacy laws. You'll have an easy time providing proof in a court of law. But most of all, you'll have happy prospects and customers, people who will willingly share your marketing with other people and do part of your marketing for you. Right? You need very few analytics services when customers are throwing information at you as fast and as fully as possible because they're so eager and excited to hear from you. That's the end state that we should all be aiming for, and forward-thinking companies and marketing leaders should be working towards that end state, which is as much investment as possible. So that was the big headline this week that caught my eye. We all have a lot of work to do to get compliant with GDPR, CCPA, which has been in effect since 2020, CPRA, which takes effect next year, PIPL, plus in the United States, many, many different states and their privacy laws. We've got a lot of work to do, but again, affirmative consent overrides almost all of them. If the consumer says, here's my info and I want you to use it, it's really easy to do the rest of marketing. What else is in this week's newsletter? I had a whole bunch of stuff on the blog. If I had to pick one thing from the blog to review, it would be the mildly amusing commentary on the metaverse. I got a question this week on how if the metaverse is going to change everything. And, well, I was a little snarky, so it's worth a watch. And then a piece that actually came out on Saturday on Content Sparks, and you get to see me playing with knives, which is mildly amusing. We have the usual selection of free classes with some new jobs this week. VP of Client Services at Test Double, they're hiring. Brand Manager at Owens Corning. A Content Marketing Specialist at Frontline Education. So lots and lots of companies that are hiring. This week's big ad, of course, if you want to prove the ROI of your marketing agency, we've got a whole talk on how you can calculate and improve your agency's ROI for clients. So go check that out. In the news, we have bits on the TikTok algorithm, which is really just a bunch of engagement stuff. We have content experience mistakes. We have a rant on practical e-commerce about stop using domain authority for SEO. We also have a piece on systemic bias in data, making AI into stereotype machines. And how to create a multi-site indexing monitoring system with the new Search Console API. So lots of good stuff in this week's newsletter. All the links, of course, are in where you got this. One announcement to make, and this is a video special only. I just finished cutting together a whole series of classes on Google Search Console. So we're going to be offering that at some point in the near future. So just stay tuned for that. It should be, I think, helpful and beneficial if you want to get more out of Search Console. Thanks for watching and listening this week, and I'll talk to you next week. Take care.